BYU just proved the Big 12 could have gotten 2 in, and the Cougars could have competed in the college football playoff. This is Locked On Big 12.
You are Locked On Big 12, your daily podcast on the Big 12 Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Sunday, everybody. Welcome into Locked On Big 12. I'm Drake Toll from America's #1 Big 12 podcast, Locked On Big 12. Thank you for making this show your first listen every single day. BYU could have gone to the college football playoff and made some serious noise. We'll also talk about the entire bowl game and what went down. Shocking to me. I just didn't see it coming in that fashion between the Cougars and the Buffs. Then, to finish, Miami, Iowa State. This was a pretty insane win for the Cyclones, given Cam Ward just gave up on his team. And in the end, we can't question whether or not him playing would have made a difference because Iowa State won. If you hit subscribe, I get to keep my job. Look, here's what sucks is if BYU, this is the point I want to make. If you're a Utah fan listening, a Texas Tech fan listening, a Baylor fan listening, you're going, this is Locked On Big 12. Why are we just pushing propaganda? Because that's what most major networks want to do is push propaganda against the Big 12. And I want to make a point that I'm not sure you would argue against or could argue against. If BYU, similar to Ohio State, similar to Oregon, similar to Tennessee, similar to anybody you could name in the top 10 right now, had the Cougars started the year at number 9 in the country, had they started where Utah started, had they gotten a blank slate, had everybody had my dog's just walking, just pacing in the back. If everybody had a blank slate to start the year, BYU is probably the 10th or 11th best team in the country. Like analytically, on paper, hypothetically, because ESPN and the SEC want to use the hypotheticals, hypothetically, BYU is better than a handful of the teams, a couple of the teams that got into the college football playoff, and the Cougars had at least a shot to make noise. We just saw Iowa State beat Miami, a team that was on the cusp, one of the first 4 out. We just saw BYU blitz, blow out, kill Colorado, Deion Sanders, Heisman Trophy winner, consensus top 5 pick. Maybe best quarterback in college football, certainly best player in college football. Top 5 receiver, top 5 cornerback, same player. Colorado has been prolific offensively this year. BYU held them to 14 points. And the Cougars, to be honest with you, didn't play their best football. Kalani Sitake would not sit at the podium and say, we played a complete, perfect game. The offense left some to desire, and that was the case a lot of this year for BYU, where you're going, what was that? Why is Gary Bohannon throwing a forward pass? Why in the year of our Lord 2024 does Gary Bohannon have the football in his hands and he's launching it with his arm in a forward motion? There were ways in which BYU could have been better, but I think what you saw is a playoff caliber, a playoff-ready team. Did they lose to Arizona State? Yeah. Did they lose to Kansas? For sure. Can you complain right now and say, BYU should have been let in and this was a complete hack job by the College Football Playoff Committee and ESPN to promote the SEC? You can spew that all you want. I'll say that, and maybe there's validity to it, but at the end of the day, if you beat Kansas, you're probably in. Even if you lose in the Big 12 championship like SMU did to Clemson, you're probably in. Why? Because you beat SMU head-to-head. And that's a point I want to go back to is why can't we consider, we had 2-loss SMU in, why could we not consider BYU as a college football playoff caliber team? Now, in the same category, in that same vein, Iowa State should have been as well. And they just beat a possibly playoff caliber, playoff contender, Miami. So this goes for BYU, it goes for Iowa State, and honestly, it goes for the entire Big 12. It goes for the entire Big 12 getting more respect. And had BYU been in that Utah spot preseason, they're going to the college football playoff. If they had the preseason bias, if they had the early season bias, if it didn't even matter that they beat SMU, in the end, we didn't talk about that. The stunning thing for me, how do I click through channel after channel after show after show after show on ESPN, where I'm watching them wax poetic about SMU or watching them debate about SMU. They're talking all about SMU, and no one wants to point back at the one regular season loss they had. They didn't lose some one-off game to a random team. They lost to a 10-2 BYU squad that at the very least could have competed in the college football playoff. It would be cheap for me to sit here and tell you that BYU would have a better chance than SMU in the playoff. I don't think that SMU didn't deserve to get in. I'm glad they went. I don't think Boise State didn't deserve to get in. I'm glad that they went. I can't say that Tennessee should have been passed over for BYU. I'm certainly glad they were there. Clemson. I mean, that's the one where I'm like, oh my gosh, we just saw Iowa State would probably beat Clemson by 14. I can't imagine the dismantling BYU would give to the Clemson Tigers, and Clemson got to go to the college football playoff, play Texas in round 1, and lose. I just wish, and maybe it will always be a wish, right, that this committee will be altruistic or objective or be able to put bias aside, and that might not ever happen. I just wish that the BYU Cougars could have gotten an opportunity in the postseason, because now after I saw that, I'm going to wonder what if. You as a BYU fan, you don't have to wonder what if. I've gotten mixed comments. It's a mixed bag here where I've gotten some fans say, this won't ever be a what could have happened in 2024 for me. It'll always be the season we won 11 games. And yes, absolutely. We can't take a darn thing. Notice I said darn. PG, a darn thing away from what BYU did this year. And we shouldn't. There should be no disappointment. You should not be upset. But it is, to me, a fair point to make that while you're not upset, that while you weren't there wasn't a disappointment, there is still something, there's still somewhat of a what could have been. What if? Just that Kansas game away from understanding the true potential that BYU had, because I do believe the potential was there for noise, for wins in the postseason in the 12-team format. It was absolutely there. Cougars never got a chance to do that. Why? Because they lost games. But had they gotten the same treatment as the SEC, 10-2 gets them in, no doubt. 10-2 got multiple SEC teams in, or multiple teams in here, Ohio State included in that. So, yeah, I just watched them dismantle the Heisman Trophy winner. Sue me for wanting to see that team in the college football playoff. Sue me for asking the question, what could have been? I'm always going to wonder, and you are not someone who should be berated for wondering what could the BYU Cougars have done if given the opportunity, if given a fair shake, just like a team from the SEC. What could they have done? I've already told you, strength of schedule, strength of record, those things are so skewed because they do it by player ratings. And those player ratings are skewed by ESPN so that they make more money and tout the SEC. That is a bad system, a broken system, a system built to further substantiate a league that doesn't deserve the substantiation it gets. So I'm just always going to have in the back of my mind, and I don't think it's a bad thing, what would have happened. Watched you dog walk the Heisman Trophy winner. 36-14 is not even close. Like every facet of the game. Deion said it in the postgame. He's like, man, I thought, their defense had answers for us offensively. Their special teams killed us. And then he was like, I felt like we kind of stopped their offense a couple of times. And he was right, by the way. Couldn't stop the run game. That team, that kind of performance, you put it all together, the way that you were able to play 2 out of 3 phases all season long, defense, special teams, BYU that would have traveled on the road had they gone to the road in round 1. And I think they would have had a shot to beat Texas. They've done it before. They've upset them before. And I just wish we could have gotten that. I wish the Big 12 could have gotten the respect enough to have 2 teams or at least 2 teams in the conversation. All right, this dog is freaking out, so I got to get an ad break. All right, look at him, huh? You know, wave to the people on the YouTube? Yeah, hey, buddy. That's Bear. I named him Bear because of Baylor. Get it? He doesn't really know what's going on. He's just a dog. Sentient? Are dogs sentient? How does that work? Biotic, for sure. He's living. I don't know if they're not sentient, right? That's like an understand. I don't think you can understand what's going on right there. All right, sorry, Bear. Coming up, BYU, Colorado. Let's recap the game itself. Locked On Big 12. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's show is brought to you by Rocket Money. Rocket Money. Look, guys, I'm 23 years old. I don't know what I'm doing. I guess I have a wallet. It's got money in it. But I'm kind of confused most of the time. So Rocket Money has helped me figure my financial ish out. What's helped me is their ability to find any subscription I forgot about or that I'm paying for twice and cancel it immediately. Personal Finance app helps you find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitor spending, helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. Brings everything together in one place, whether it's subscriptions, spending habits. I mean, right now, Rocket Money has over 5 million users, has saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using the app's premium features. For me, I love the subscription tracker so I can know that I'm paying for Canva twice. I'm going to stop paying for one of those Canvas. Their goals feature, I can automatically set aside money for my future, cancel your unwanted subscriptions, reach financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/lockedon today. Rocketmoney.com/lockedon. It's rocketmoney.com/lockedon. Visit them today. BYU just hammered Colorado, dog walked, woodshed, whatever you want. They took the Heisman Trophy winner and made him and his team look completely incompetent on a football field. I told you this last week in my analysis. I said BYU will win this game 31-28 because of defense and special teams. Little did I know it would be totally because of defense and special teams. Jake Retzlaff, no. If you said, hey, Drake, here's your little crystal ball into the future. Jake Retzlaff goes 12 for 21, 151 yards, 2 interceptions, and Gerald Bohannon, Earl, Arkansas native Gary Bohannon, G-Bo, 26 years old, throws an interception. I'm like, okay, well, BYU loses by 15. No, it's the run game of the Cougars. It's the defense. It's the special teams. It's that bad man, Parker Kingston, who kind of does it all, that finishes a walloping of Colorado. I hope that you as a BYU fan are kind of looking around going, what? What? After what you saw over the course of the regular season there in the back half, where was this? I know that we don't want to talk about hypothetical games and who would win against them and should they deserve to be in the college football playoff. But what I just saw from BYU was a college football playoff caliber team. America watching and America turning it off because it was such a blowout. To Farron, booting them through. Will Farron, 51 yards in the first quarter, and then says, you know what? 54 to end the half. I don't know. That's the first thing, okay? First thing, we're going to celebrate. Awesome for BYU. Second thing, point number 2, terrible for the Big 12. What would have been the Big 12 championship, what could have been the Big 12 championship, the People's Big 12 championship, as Jake Retzlaff said, was a blowout. It wasn't a good game. It was non-competitive. America, again, watched it and turned it off because BYU just did that, whatever that was. And so, like, point 1, congrats BYU. Point 2, bad for the Big 12 because now Colorado gets shellacked. Your Heisman Trophy winner didn't show out on national television. How do you really, shoot? From the chair of the Locked On Big 12 guys, like, okay, great. Awesome for BYU. 11-win season. Bad for Colorado, 9-4. Where do they go next year? 36-14 is not close. And then I think point number 3 is if this is what BYU is going to do, if this is the level BYU can play at and can do it consistently, they are a long-term contender in the Big. Colorado, Shedeur Sanders at quarterback, Jimmy Horn Jr., Travis Hunter, any of the running backs you want to name, none of them are good. 210 total yards. I told you this week in my preview, it would be a timely turnover that BYU forces to get the win. Didn't need to be timely. They picked off Shedeur twice. I told you they wouldn't do that. They did. They held the Buffs to 9 first downs. What is stunning to me is I sit here in my nifty little sweatshirt and my little hat. I didn't study this game from the standpoint of a coach. I wasn't in the film room walking the players through the X's and O's and the Jimmies and Joes. I'm just reading the efficiencies. And what I told you this week is that BYU would win this game because they can run the football and Colorado can't guard the run. And because BYU can guard the run and Colorado can't run the football. And then lo and freaking behold, BYU, 42 carries, 180 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Colorado, 19 carries, 2 yards. 19 carries, 2 yards. That is 0.1 yards per carry. And I'm not paid a lot of money, but the money I am paid is because I can tell you, based on those numbers, that's not very good. And then Shedeur only had 208 yards passing on 16 for 23. Felt like Colorado never really had the ball. And that's with BYU scoring on special teams. So Colorado should have had the ball even longer. This was a beatdown, a blowout. I don't understand. I don't know how. Like that, and maybe that's point number 4. Or it's big enough to be point number 3 here. BYU fans will always look at 2024. Maybe this kind of ties into point 3. I don't know. You're BYU fans, you get it. You listen to sermons. They're usually 3 points. This ties into point 3. It'll always be the what could have been. 11 wins is great. And there have been analysts this week who have asked Matt Campbell or Chris Kleiman, are you disappointed with this season? No, there's no reason to be disappointed if you're BYU. This is unbelievable. Impeccable. 11 wins. That's stupid good. 11-2 is crazy. Then you look back and you'll go, if BYU was in the college football playoff, that version of BYU that creamed the Heisman Trophy winner, what could have been? And it's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. I'll always wonder, as this happens for every fan base. 2012, Arkansas loses the Sugar Bowl to Ohio State. I'll always wonder. One win away. What could have been? Could they have been a national title contender that season, right? And BYU fans will always think, shoot, 2024. Had we gotten in the field of 12, had we had more respect, had the college football playoff not discounted the Big 12 like they did, which was so wrong, could the Cougars have made noise? The answer could be yes, but we'll never know. And that's kind of the stinky part about this. Holy cow. Like I struggled to hit record and start this show. Because what do I say? I watched that the same way you did, going, what? This was supposed to be like remotely close at any point. And it never was. My biggest early takeaway, and it's one that I had to get in the show. I know. I'm going to back up. I know. Okay. Aaron Rodgers. Nice guy. Good guy. And you can't fire him when he wins 11 games. But what on earth? Who ever told him it was a good idea to let Gary Bohannon throw a forward pass? Let's go trick play. Pitchy, woo-woo. Up by 10. Aaron, I'm reading the analytics. I'm reading the efficiency. Colorado can't guard the run. And guess what they didn't do all game? Guard the run. And you just, the first half, you're like, we don't have to run the ball. We're going to do fun stuff. I played Madden over the break, and they've got new trick plays in the Madden 25 version. Let's do those. Onside kick was awesome, by the way. The Aaron Rodgers was like, onside kick, you like that? Well, you're going to like this a little bit too. How about a little double reverse? We're going to throw it to the defender. Reverse, pitch to the inside. Stop. Just do the normal things. Just do the normal football thing. You were so much better than Colorado the entire game at the normal things. Then just do those. Please. Don't have to do all the wild stuff. Like everything's working. Keep doing the football. Aaron Rodgers like, nope. Trick play. Thankfully, BYU got up by so much they stopped shooting themselves in the foot and did normal football things. Travis Hunter is still good. Shedeur Sanders is still good. They'll both be top 10 draft picks. And BYU made them look like Pee Wee players, Little League players. I just didn't think that was going to happen. A blowout like that. This was not even fun to watch. It just, like, what? You as a BYU fan who has only known things looking good and then going wrong should be equally surprised and just, I get paid to do words, and I don't really need to process this. Is this good? I just can't. That's what I keep coming back to a little bit too. Is like, okay, BYU won, but for the Big 12, is this good? Does Colorado look bad now? What? I was late to recording this post-game recap because I was watching as the Iowa State football team consumed biotic sentient pastry, the cinnamon roll Pop-Tart. The glory that is the Pop-Tart Bowl is absolute hilarity. And 42-41, a barn burner, slobberknocker, high-flying, old-school Big 12 game. Cyclones come out on top. Do you ever think, like, there are a couple parts of this that make me so happy. The first is Miami, 30 minutes prior, I was like, shoot, we're going to get to eat that Pop-Tart at the end of the game. Then the game ended, and I love the fact there are 100 people in this world that didn't get to watch that post-game celebration. There is a trophy now in Ames, Iowa, that can toast Pop-Tarts. And for the 100 people, Miami players and staff, that didn't get to watch that, they're in the locker room. And one of the coaches is, you didn't give it your all. You didn't show the grit that we expect out of Miami foot. You're getting your butt chewed out. having played your final snap of college football, and 100 yards away from you, some 6'3", 325-pound kid from nowhere, Iowa, is eating a 6-foot Pop-Tart. Yeah, that's the glory of bowl season. That's the glory of what Iowa State just did. I think it's hilarious that if you ask somebody who's a Miami fan or Miami player, like, oh, you're playing Iowa State, afterthought. Like, Iowa State isn't one of the more storied programs in college football, but Matt Campbell has turned them there. They're still going to be overlooked. No one's going to see Iowa State and be like, oh my gosh, we're playing some classic juggernaut. No, and that's what I love about this. You ask a kid who's going to college in Miami, who's partying at 11 or the nightclubs out there, oh, we're playing some kids from Iowa. You best bet they overlooked that. And I said it all week. I will go back into the comment sections this week of every preview I've done for Miami, Iowa State, where I said the same thing, that the Miami players will not want this near as badly. Iowa State just won 11 games for the first time ever. This is historic. Massive for Matt Campbell, massive for the program, massive for their trajectory. Cyclones fans should be over the moon with what happened in 2024. For Miami, they've won national championships before. 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, these kids were ready for the ACC championship game that at halftime of the Syracuse loss, they were up by 3 touchdowns, ready to go to the college football playoff. Iowa State, in the best way, is excited to be here. Iowa State is excited to play football. For Miami, here's how stupid, silly, weird Miami football is in 2024. Their star quarterback, Heisman candidate quarterback, went to New York, says, I'll play this game, but only for a quarter, maybe a half. What does he do? Comes out for Miami, who was up 31-28 at halftime, plays 2 quarters and says, I'm good. What kind of teammate? Ask yourself that if you've played organized sports at any level, if you've been in an office space, if you worked in a team, if someone said, yeah, I know I'm the best one here, so I'll give you my best effort for the first half of the project, for the first half of the game, for a little bit of this, and then I'm good. I'm going to bow out. I'm fine. You guys can take it from here. So no, you don't actually get to get into a groove without me. You don't get the backup for me doesn't get to come in and prove themselves. I'm going to start this, and then when it's going well, I'm going to stop. I'm just going to, I'm good. Oh, is it for my future, my career? Yeah. Well, then why would I play the first half? I don't know. It doesn't make a lot of sense when you talk about it, when you kind of pitch it that way, does it? It's pitiful to me. I want to get inside the mind of Cam Ward. I want to get inside the mind of the coaches. I want to get inside the mind of the starting left tackle. He's like, dude, I'm out here for 4 quarters risking the future, my football future, my career. You're going to play for a half, get us where we need to be, and then dip? Who does something like that? And I think anybody out there who's like, oh, well, if Cam Ward would have played the second half, then Miami certainly would have won this game. That is the last thing that I want to hear rhetoric out of Miami fans, because we didn't get that. That's not what happened. You lost the game, and Cam Ward gave up on his team. He did something that, in my mind, is worse than sitting out for the entire game. That's played a half. And Iowa State took advantage. I know it's a lot of talk about Miami right there, but it really ticked me off. It really ticked me off. Because I, as like a human being, as someone who appreciates humanity, like, dude, just don't do that to people. Don't do that to your teammates, right? And then the graphic is going to say, it's all love, always a hurricane. Then what was that? Carson Hansen, the running back that just watching him play football makes me so happy. He just runs hard every time he gets it. He's a sophomore. Rocco Beck, sophomore. Iowa State's future is very bright without Jalen Noel, Jaden Higgins, those 2 guys being gone next year. They're still going to be a machine. And those 2 guys in this game were able to put on. Like, Rocco Beck, 3 touchdowns. Carson Hansen, 16 hard carries, 82 yards, couple of touchdowns. Abu Sama, who's supposed to be the guy this year, so also hopefully back, also a lot of eligibility left, only scores 2 touchdowns. I don't know, right? I don't know what's going on there. I'm not inside the locker room, but if Carson Hansen's going to do this, and you now have 2 running backs in the future, don't mind that at all. Noel being gone is tough. Higgins being gone is tough, even though we didn't get Higgins today. Those guys, those guys were foundational. Matt Campbell's talked about it, to building this program and putting Iowa State in the place that they are. One of the most valuable senior classes. I mean, Jalen Noel today, 8 receptions, 117 yards and a touchdown. That's insane. What he's able to do in his entire career at the university, awesome. Moving forward without them, because you have guys like Rocco Becht or Carson Hansen, is going to be a whole lot easier. I'm happy for Iowa State. I'm happy for Iowa State fans. Like I said, even without Jaden Higgins playing, even without Jaden Higgins and Jalen Noel in the future, this is your set. You're built. You were down by 10 points. You were an underdog coming into this game. Cam Ward's playing. Oh, Iowa State won't win. And at 38-28, it was like, okay, this is going to be tough to come back from, because the offense was clicking in the first half, then things kind of died down a bit. You gave up 524 yards. But Miami, 3 turnovers. That poor backup quarterback looked like he was lost on those last couple of drives. Lost. There was, at a point in this game, an 86.7% chance that Miami would win. There was not just a point, but 2 minutes and 14 seconds to go. 68% chance Miami wins. There's a 4th and goal there at the end from the 1 yard line where you don't know. I mean, you get stopped right there and it's over. Miami wins it. Iowa State's going home without eating the Pop-Tart. But instead, in one of the coolest bowl game celebrations, the Big 12 takes down the ACC. And not just any ACC school, but one of those schools that thinks it should be in the Big 10 of the SEC. One of those schools that thought it should be in the college football playoff. You just proved, the Big 12 just proved, Miami's not all that. They're not near what they told us they were. Great win for Iowa State, but Miami, I don't believe, the Big 12 beat a very good football team today. But I want to reemphasize, this shows Miami's very good. Iowa State's better. The Big 12's better, right? Miami's very good, but a team that finished tied for first place with 4 other teams, I think all 4 of those teams were pretty evenly matched, are all better than Miami. So yes, the Hurricanes are still good, but the Big 12 has to get more respect, the same level of respect as a Miami. A game like this proves that. A game like this is big for the conference. Yes, we got the Pop-Tart. Oh, that trophy's on our campus for the rest of time. This has been and always will be Iowa State, baby. Oh, locked on. Thanks for making it your first listen every single day. Yo sé grande.